everybody, it's Warren here, hanging out in my studio and enjoying a nice morning discussion with, I consider you a friend and a client of ours and someone that we met, 2.5 years ago. And we were very fortunate to have been able to photograph her daughter's grad. And at the time, that's when we met you and found out that you're pretty much a very badass fit chick. I don't know, without it, a fitness guru, super cool, great shape, and very knowledgeable in what she does. And she's bringing it to anybody and everybody she can, and spreading that knowledge and the goodwill of it all in becoming healthier and living a healthier lifestyle. And her name is Mrs. Jacqueline Tuffs. She's right here. Thank you for hanging out. And she's the owner of Get Jaqued, correct? That's the name of your gym. You call it a gym, right? Or a fitness studio? What would you call it?
I call it a studio just because we don't have typical
Gotcha.
equipment.
Gotcha. So it's your studio. Absolutely. No, it's pretty wicked. And I'll post the links to that after. So I'll post those links, in the comments and all that stuff when this video gets all put together and uploaded. And I got to do it. I got to say it. Hit the bell, give a ding, give a like. I appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button. And this is my third official podcast. And I've got another one actually booked for tomorrow. And I'm loving this. And I'm enjoying bringing people like yourselves to the people that know me and that follow me, because I believe that your inspiration will go a long way to help, others, as much as it did for me. So, well, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's about your studio, your history, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm interested as well. So.
Okay, well, thank you for that nice introduction. Well, I live in Kinnersley. I live in a small community here, and I have had the studio open it will be 8 years in January. But I've been teaching for, it'll be almost 16 years. It'll be 16 years next year, I guess, which is coming quick. And so before I opened the studio, I rented space wherever I could, in the courthouse, the rink, the recreation centers, the schools. I used to actually travel to other communities when I was first getting started, to just kind of get my bearings underneath me. And then I just decided, if the opportunity ever come up that I could have my own space, this is what I need to do. Because I was kind of at that place where I was kind of stagnant, where I was renting in a dance studio at that time, and they were really awesome to me, but they were busy and I was busy skating full time. And so time was limited, and you can only fit so many people.
Yes.
And in order for me to continue to go forwards, I have to take that leap. Otherwise, I'm going to just be in this limbo for
absolutely. I've always said if you want to do it, you got to do it.
Yeah,
it's just what it is. There's no in between. If you want to do it, you got to do it. That's just it.
When I first started I was thinking today, I was okay, so how did the whole teaching thing come along? And so it's kind of a twofold. So when I was teaching skating full time, I had a lot of kids on the competitive skating team at that point, and they had access to off ice training. And I thought, well, that's really great, but how come everybody doesn't have access to that?
Gotcha.
Not just because I thought, well, maybe we might get more competitive kids that would come out of that if they had stronger, more overall balanced bodies, but also to kind of teach them to how to prevent maybe some injuries by doing some balance work. And I just was hey, this is a thing I could do. So I kind of dabbled in that a little bit just on my own, but kind of stayed in my lane of well, this is what I know and how it would relate to on the ice. And love that aspect, of course, of teaching and of combining the fitness stuff. And then I had a lady drove from Rosetown, which is about 45 minutes from here, to come and do a class. She did a Latin dance class and some kind of diva size class, back in the day of Carmen Electra.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Sexy workout.
Yes.
She was pretty tough, and that was a long time ago, but that was what it was then. And so she was coming in. At the time, there was no group fitness classes happening in Kinnersley. And we're very fortunate now. We're really lucky that there is a ton of stuff that happens in our town. For a small community, there is a lot of different places where people could go and kind of find, their fit.
Yeah.
But at the time, there was nothing. So when she came, I was like, I'm going to do that. Because I was a young mom. I had two little people. My husband was growing a business and was, working all the time. So I already had a babysitter those nights that I was skating. So I thought, well, I can, fit this in. So I made my girlfriend come with me, and we did this class, and we did it for 6 weeks. And I just thought, like, well, like, why isn't this not happening? Like, this connection of people moving together. And it wasn't like a sweaty, hard workout. It was literally just movement. We were in this little Elks Hall. It was like, tiny little spot. And so at the end of the 6 weeks, she said, well, thank you for coming, but, I'm not coming back anymore because, it's too far of a drive, and the commitment and, financial, commitment for her as well. And so one of the ladies that just happened to be at the class, she turns around and she says to me, like, well, you should teach this. And I was like, no.
That's awesome.
And so then my girlfriend's like, yes, you totally should teach this. And I'm like, no, like, you're my friend. You have to say that I'm good at things, but like, no, I'm not teaching this. And I mean, I had no experience, in that side of things.
Yes.
And so then I got my vehicle, and I was like, well, I was already thinking that I wanted to branch into that, like not into obviously those specific classes, but kind of into teaching adults into the fitness. And I thought, well, maybe this is, that opportunity. And so I actually started teaching for our town because I had a connection there, obviously, because I taught skating, so recreation, and those girls kind of set me up, and I started teaching. And then I thought, well, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to go and do all the training, and I'm going to take it. And I'm like that. I don't know if it comes from like being an athlete or what that is, but I'm that person that if I believe in something and I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm not going to half-ass it. I'm not going to dip my toe in. I'm like going to go all in. And so, 41 certifications under the belt later, it's been a long ride of like learning. And lots of times you take things and you're like, oh, that's good information, but nothing that I would love to teach.
Exactly.
But just accumulate those little things along the way. So anyway, I kind of got started that way. And then eventually I had, enough people that I was like, well, I'm doing all this work. And so I should be like, kind of feeling like I'm going to branch out on my own now. And that was kind of the start of things. And it was interesting when I first started because it was mixed. I say mixed reviews as to like, I told a few people like, I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to, go and take my training and start to offer like group classes. And either people were like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Or like lots of people were like, well, like group fitness is kind of dead. Like, I mean, I think it's good for like 1 or 2 classes, but do you think people will come back? And I remember thinking like, yes, because there's more people than just myself, especially at that time for young moms who were like, you're in that, it's a short time, but it feels like a long time when you're in that moment. Like, I still was like, yes, I'm a mom and I'm all of those things, but I'm still me.
Yeah.
Like I can be a mom and I can still do things for myself. And I always felt like that was something, and I still think that I still try to get that, as a not a lesson, but something that I focus on. Like, you have to do things for yourself. And for me, when I do that, I feel like I'm a better mom, wife, friend, all of those things, because I've taken care of like filling myself up. And that meant really to me is such a huge thing. And so I remember saying, well, they've taken other people's classes, but they haven't taken my class, and it's interesting because you say that and it sounds like it's from a kid-seated point of view, but it's not, because, when I would teach young people, I would, or even just an athlete in general, we want them to believe that if they put in the hard work, if you do the preparation, if you go to practice, if you do the training, if you do all of those things, that when that moment comes, whether it's game day or competition or whatever it is, that all of that hard work and before that will come for you. Like you trust in what your ability is. You
Yes.
trust in your work that you've done, and we want them to believe in themselves.
Yes.
And we don't blink. We teach our young children that, right? You can do anything you want to do if you put in the hard
Absolutely.
work. But yet then as an adult, you say that and then people think it's like, oh, she thinks this or he thinks this. And it's like, no, it's not that. It's just still believing that if I do all of these things that I can do that.
Without
And it's
question.
no different than now coming to my
Yeah.
class and then,
Yeah.
thinking that maybe they can't do whether it's a specific move or
Yeah.
even doing a class, and me guiding
Exactly.
them through those little baby steps along the way to
Yeah,
be able to get
exactly.
to that moment where like, like nothing feels better than finding that, successful moment at the end. And success is different for every single person. Success
Absolutely it is. Yeah.
is just showing up,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that was kind of like the start of it, and then it just kind of
Sweet.
slowly,
And
you
that's
know,
it. Here you are.
yeah,
I get that when people say that though. I started this channel and all this stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, I got lots of people are like, frick yeah. Like
yeah,
this is cool what you're doing. This is like you have an opportunity to do something cool. And then the next person, family members more than anything are like, really? It's like, come on. And it's like, well, other people do it and are successful with it. Why can't I?
yeah,
There's no reason I couldn't be successful with it like other people are. But people
yeah,
think, I'm this older dude, whatever. And it's like, I don't know. I think I can bring enough stuff, and people like yourselves. And it's just the whole lifestyle thing about being better. And like you say, preparing yourself with all those little steps. It's building your foundation,
yes,
one of the sayings I really like, and I don't even know where I heard it. I heard it probably 30 years ago somewhere. And it's a saying called, the only time you start at the top is when you're digging a hole.
yeah,
It's like you have to start by building your base and your foundation. And if you put all the work in, why can't you reach the top? There's no
yeah.
reason you can't,
It's
know?
interesting that you use that analogy because I always used to say on the ice, like without control, you have
Yes.
no power. So
Yeah,
you can go
exactly.
as fast as you want, whether it's skiing, skating, whatever, you can go as fast as you
Yes.
want. You have no
Yes.
control, you have nothing. And so when you take that same idea into the weight room or the gym or whatever, you can go as fast as you want. You can lift as heavy as you want. You can go balls to the wall. But if you have no control over that movement, if you have
No,
no base, you have nothing because
no.
eventually that will break down. So I'll always teach that. I always try to take you can give me the craziest move and I'll strip it right back to basics. Let's
Yeah,
teach with bases and then we build from,
absolutely.
there. It's funny
Form and
because
technique.
form technique. I always say that it's my second favorite F word when we're in class because I'm like, it's form first, right? But
Form, you
it's my second
bet.
favorite.
You bet.
Sometimes those other ones slip out too when you're working hard, but that's how it is. Prior to this year, I had the opportunity to be an educator for one of the biggest companies, fitness companies that's in the US.
Sweet.
And so I would travel and go to the gyms and studios and teach their instructors how to teach our formats, but also how to kind of start a teaching basis, right?
Very
And
cool.
so I was the first and only actually a master trainer for Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba. So I would travel there and go and do trainings there. And I always used to say, when I first started teaching, I thought I was doing like a really good class. And
Yeah.
now I know that I was doing a really terrible one. But when you know better, you do better, right? So now
Absolutely.
I understand the idea of what it takes to have, a total class and all of the elements that you need to make that a well-rounded class. Whereas I didn't
Yes.
know better when I first started. So if you think you're going to start anything, whether it's a gym routine or podcasting or whatever it is, and that you're just going to like crush it from day one without like having those little things that you have to tweak along the way. But some people feel frustrated from that because they want to start something and then they want to just like nail it right away.
They want to
Whereas
start at the top, and it doesn't
but
work that way.
right? Where you have to put the steps in place.
It's
And
paying your dues. I mean, that is the
yeah,
reality, and you pay your dues with anything, and and that's exactly it. We can talk and we can preach all the, failure is the first step to success, and it is. I mean, I had a big discussion with my young daughter, and actually posted a bit in my first video, my intro video about it. And it's what kind of made me want to do this too, because I jumped in the water and it was ice cold, and I'm like, I'm just trying to overcome it mentally, right? Get my mind to be able to control it. She thought I was nuts. And then we got discussing things, and she says, but Dad, I hate failing. That's why I don't like to try anything. And I said, well, you know that if you fail, like if you got really crappy marks on your exam and you went in and you wrote that exam again, or those questions came up again, would you answer them the same, or would you change to the correct answer? She goes, well, I'd change it to the correct one. I said, then you didn't fail, did you?
Yeah.
Well, not really. And I said, exactly. Don't ever be afraid to jump in and do something, but be prepared to work and to build it right from the start. And if you do that, there's no reason you can't, be a success, but there's going to be a lot of failures along the way. And you just have to be able to deal with that and understand that they are just a stepping stone.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I said, we always have the thing in our class that just show up, because
yes.
Some days that is the success. It's not always about pushing and how much you can do or accomplish something. Sometimes it's just about get through the door.
Damn rights it is. Damn rights it is. I always say you're lapping the person laying on their couch.
Yeah.
You get up. I mean, the person's still laying on his couch. At least you're up and you're moving. And I always say just move more.
Exactly. And right now, I think for people in this point,
it's
about just keeping that connection and keeping that consistency of like, this is one of the to me that in all of the craziness of the last little bit, that you've been my constant. And I was like, I said, wow, because that's how I feel about them. I always say, like, I have had a lot of very cool opportunities that I never would have thought would have happened being in a small community. And I have another cool one coming out Friday. But it's just like, those things keep happening. And I always say it's because of them. And they always say, but it's not because of us, it's because of you. But that's why the relationship and that's why the connection between us works. Because I really do think, yes, I'm, doing this. I'm the one who's putting that in. But in order for me to be able to do that, I still have people that allow me to test, choreography, and allow me to teach a class, or allow me to try a format that I think might go, but maybe it's not as good, or, like all of those little things that happen. It's not a one-man show. I would say it's my name on the door, but it's not. It's just my name up there. It's about all the people that are inside the building.
You bet.
You bet. Like my whole focus this whole entire time, and I feel like it's just like continuing to grow, is that I'm like, I'm not going to teach you a class. I want to give you an experience when you walk in. I want you to feel like this is where you belong. I want you to feel like that I'm happy that you're there, no matter what it is that you can do or can't do. It doesn't really matter. It's about the health and the wellness of like the mental aspect of it and all the physical stuff. And we talk about gains and this is for that. And I teach them, I educate them through the class, but of course, it's still those bonuses, and once they can make that shift about like, I actually feel better, like just stop for a moment and feel what you're feeling right now, and I always say it to my adults, and I'm sure that they think that it's whatever. But when the kids would be on the ice and we would do something that would make them like work really hard, and I'd say, put your hand here, and they'd feel their heart beating really fast, and I'd say, that's your heart saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I still think that is the same thing.
Absolutely.
Like, give yourself a moment before we like rush off to the world to just like, damn, just did that.
Absolutely. I know when I walk in the gym every day, that's my me time. I have a few things that I do there for me, right? And sometimes it's playing my guitar, maybe singing a song, learning a song, whatever. But right now it's when I walk in that door, it's my me time. I don't run in. I don't just friggin' run in and light it up. I have a process, very methodical, that just puts my whole brain into this zone, and then it's me. Then I don't even check my phone. I don't do any of that. So if you can't get a hold of me for 90 minutes any given day, that's because I'm in my world. I'm in absolutely my world. And it's me trying to better myself so that, when I leave that gym, I'm a better person,
Yeah.
physically, obviously, but mentally and spiritually as well. So when I walk out, I'm just a better person. I have more empathy. I have more, all that kind of stuff. And that's what the training does for me. But, and that's why it is so important. I just try to get a lot of people to see the benefits of it. And I mean, that's what you're doing. I mean, quite obviously, and you said it's experience, and that's what you want it to be for them. And an experience is something that, you can, like you said, you can teach anybody anything, but to create an experience, that's what they won't forget,
Because my thing is I can teach somebody, like, to teach the exact same class I'm going to teach. I can tell them the exact same cues that I would give.
Yes.
But their connection to people will be different than my connection and the next person's connection. And so that's why I always say, like, find your fit. Like, if you come and you don't love the class, I mean, then try something else. Try a different class. And I do offer, a different class every day. We have a well-balanced schedule of strength, flexibility, like all the good stuff, because I do think you should be well-rounded. But also, if you don't feel that connection that with me as a person, that's okay. That's okay. Because you might find that someplace else, because at the end of the day, I really just want somebody to find that consistency and connection and feeling that, it is whether that's with me or with somebody else. And I wanted to have a place that felt inclusive for everybody, no matter what the, physical attributes are that you're bringing in. That doesn't matter. And I just wanted to be like a strong supportive influence, if I could be, in their lives and in the community's lives, because I feel like I have a passion for fitness, yes, but I have a passion for movement and for giving back. So, like, it definitely, like, can I help create a positive change in your life? I hope so. But can I help you to see that you can do that for yourself, is really the bottom line of it,
Absolutely.
And fitness for me and teaching, it's a labor of love. Like, nobody's going to the Bahamas by teaching group fitness. Well, no one's going anywhere right at the moment, but nobody's going, in this big thing.
No.
But it wasn't ever about that. And I always felt like when I was building, especially when I was building the business, like when I bought into my own spot, that I was always make decisions based on what I felt was the best for them. So what is the best for them? I'm not talking from like a financial aspect. I'm talking about what's the best for them, because if I could do that and I could take care of them, if I could kind of, support them through whatever their workout is, if I could make them feel safe, that they would feel successful when they left, and they would want to come back. And not only would they want to come back, but they would want to share that with somebody else, and then bring somebody new in. And I really think that, back to me saying that it's a lot about them, it is that. That's how I've been able to continue to continue to keep the studio and continue to grow it, when there's a million other things that have, come now into the community where that's great. No, I don't mean that by any disrespect at all. I mean, like, that it's just that's how you're able to still, do your thing, because I really try to make that focus about them. And, right now, like I said, would it be easier for me to teach virtually and not be in a mask and I can talk and do my thing? Yeah. But would I also miss that moments with them in a class, whether we're masked or not? 100%. Because it is about that, connection and that razzing and the shit talking and all the stuff that happens. Well, not as much right now when everyone's covered up, but
it's true, though. Totally, I get it. I get it 100%.
The class of it. So
absolutely, I totally get it. And you talk about experience, go back to that. I mean, it is about the experience. And I think it's Seth Godin. Did he say it? They may forget how you made them feel. No. I got to get this right. There'll be an edit in this. So I'm pretty sure it's Seth Godin said, if they may forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And
Yeah.
I found that with teaching photography. Some just,
Mm.
you could teach someone, you could lay out exactly what I do, because of course we were educators in the photographic industry and toured all over North America doing it. And you could teach somebody, but if someone came, and I've been in classes like that as well. I'm going to go there's my tangents. I go on all the time, but I've sat in classes and thought, you're talking, but it's the most lame presentation ever. I can go into a presentation, or I can see somebody that's speaking and they freaking grab you, and it's an experience. And I remember, I can count people, list them one after another, people that I remember the experience from, which in turn helps me remember what they said, as well
Yes.
as they taught and what I learned. So that is important. And I've always said, anybody comes, hangs with me, and as a musician, I was like this. I'd be on stage and I wanted people to feel like they were on stage with me. I didn't want them to feel like they were just sitting, hanging out in a bar, in a theater or whatever. I wanted them to feel like they were partying right alongside more noise. And that was how I always performed. And I've always looked at it that way, even as a photographer and doing this as well. I want people to just be a part of what we're doing, not be a spectator.
Yeah. Yeah. This is not a one trick pony show for me.
Yeah.
It's not. And I also think too, that's hard. That's hard in a small community, because, you're putting yourself out there. And I actually only for the last 5 years, once I was a master trainer, did I have an open profile. Prior to that, the 10, 11 years to that, I only posted in a private group. I never posted publicly about what I was doing. Yeah. And then I had to open up that page. That was part of what I needed to do for the other position that I held. And the one lady who I now still get to work with, which is very cool, she's in Boston. She said to me, listen, if you don't promote yourself, and if you don't talk about what you do to people that don't know about you, how are you ever going to get people to trust and buy into what you're doing? Because those people in your private group, they already get it, and I was like, oh God, knowing farewell that it was going to be a reception of like 70% of people who would love to see what you or read what you write, and another percentage, which is smaller, but sometimes feels like it's bigger, that we're going to be like, oh God, and like she thinks this, and you just have to like try your best to block out your noise. Like I literally always say, I stay on my side of the road. That's like my little thing. Like I have my own space. I like just focus on what can I do? What can I bring? What can I keep getting back? What can I do to better myself and bring different classes? And I just try to drive down that lane so that I don't get lost in that sea of, things. So, and I think that for me, I love the teaching of it, but I love like the same thing, the struggle and success of seeing people fight through something that they can't do, or even fight that mental aspect where I'm like, what's telling you to stop right now? Is it the body or is it your brain? Listen in. Right. And then decide, like make a choice from there. Sometimes it is the body saying like, yo, back off.
Yeah. For sure.
But sometimes it's just that little up here. I think it's just so like, I could talk about that forever, because I just think like, I love, like just this seeing people like, just make those little tiny gradual steps. And we always do things over like a 6-week period, right? So they'll sign up for 6 weeks. I teach the same thing in that class for 6 weeks. And I started at the basics and then we progress it. So like last week was the 6th week. And like by that week, like it's game on. Like everybody's flying. They know what they're doing. They know the moves. Like it's that week to me is just like cake. Like I love it. And they're busting their asses. Like everyone's dying, but they're exhausted in a different way. It's not like that week 1 where they don't know what's happening and they're trying to like keep up. It's like, oh no, I got it. So it's just, I would say like, give yourself a second before you dash off right now to be like, damn, I just did that. Absolutely.
I know I've signed up, I'm working on my certifications. So
Oh,
I'm
nice.
excited. I've kind of wanted to do it on and
Yep.
off for years, and again with the COVID and everything else, all this crap hit and kind of fried us in our regular routines. I thought, you know what? And I've
Hey,
got
it's
signed
time.
up with an international certification and with, as a trainer and in a therapeutic, as therapeutic training, which because I'm old and I break, so I'm always working on ways to, you
Hey,
know,
up to.
like, oh my God, we don't heal like we used to.
I know.
And I'm working with, on that end of it as well. And it's something I'm super excited to be able to, you know, just help people in that regard. I mean, I get people ask me all the time now, but until I have my proper certification, I don't feel comfy. I mean, I could train someone now, but I want to have the backing, the official paperwork backing behind it. And so I'm hoping January to have all that completed, and yeah, and then we'll go from there and see. Super
Yeah.
stoked.
I just think that there's people like there is people out there who are waiting, and there's also people that don't even know that they need what you can bring yet. So
Yes.
there's opportunity. I remember like thinking, actually it was interesting because my first two courses that I took, I had to go to Humboldt for one and I had to go to North Battleford for the other. So that was my
Okay.
hometown. So
Yeah.
going back there, and I had never left the kids overnight like that to go. And I remember we were standing in my kitchen, and I remember Kim, who's my husband, said to me like,
Yeah.
you know what, if this is important to you, just go and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, not that I ever expected that he would say like, oh, I don't think you should do it, because he would never say that. But I just remember literally that moment thinking like, oh, he gets it. Like
Yeah.
I need something else for myself. And
Yes.
I
Yes.
taught for 20 years. I taught skating for 20 years. And then now, just focusing on the fitness aspect. But all of those experiences that I had, they all connect. They
Absolutely.
literally all connect, and I always believe that, but they still all do. And one of the things that I'm doing actually on that's coming out this week is that this is the third time this has happened, so it's pretty crazy every time. But I created some choreography for a fitness company that's in the States, and so they are producing that choreography, and that will go out to the instructors and all the different countries that there is. And so like that to me, like getting to tap into that creative side of like, okay, let's put some moves together and then match that to music is like literally the same thing as what I used to do out on the ice, but just a different context of that. And I
Yes.
often, I would love to be able to go back out on the ice now, knowing what I know now after all of these years of doing that,
Yes.
and how
Yes.
much better I would have been on the ice as well too, to be able to like, just feel the beat different, or like just different things like that. Like,
Yeah.
that's how my
Absolutely.
brain, I'd like to go back and redo that so I could do it better. Or like, I don't know. Like this is cool where we're at, and this is really good. And I feel like, I brought a lot of new classes in over COVID. Has given me a lot of opportunity to like kind of teach what I
Yes.
wanted to do.
Yes.
But I'm not done. I'm still gonna take, more trainings, and I might take something, like I said, that is like, yes, this is what we need. Or I might take it and try it and be like, and I've done that lots, but the only way that is to just try, right? Just like
Yes.
what you said to your
Yes.
daughter, just to my class, just show up. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Just got to walk through the door.
walk
Yeah.
through the door.
That's awesome. No, super stoked. So what in your class, like what do you teach? Like just explain
So,
what, like if I came into your class today and I know you're going to kick my ass, but what can I expect when I walk in the door?
well, you can expect a full body for sure, full body
Yeah.
class. So that's one thing that I try to make sure I do, only because some people only come for one day. Some
Gotcha.
people are there every day.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't like back and biceps or whatever. We try to do a full body every single day,
Yep.
but that will
Yep.
change. One day is tomorrow at 6 a.m. it's just strength. There's no cardio. It's
Gotcha.
heart rate. Feel cardio because it's like more metabolic conditioning training,
Yes.
but it's just about the strength. But then the next day we might do a little bit of strength, and then we're going to add some cardio in it. So
Gotcha.
you know
Gotcha.
tonight it's all body weight. It's so everything kind of changes. Last night we did a recharge recovery class, so it's kind
Gotcha.
of, and then I feel like my idea for them is, if you were coming new, I would say to you, okay, so tell me what you think you need, or what do you like to do? If you
Yes.
had to move, what would you like to do? Because I do think that fitness should be fun. I do think that movement should be fun. And that doesn't mean that like when you're in the middle of like a Metcon class, like everything is fun, because definitely there's moments where you're like, holy, like, catching your breath. But you still have to
Yeah.
love the idea of how you feel after. And if you
Yes.
can hold
Yes.
on to that, it makes those moments that are more challenging in the class doable, right? And it kind of brings those moments where it's a little bit harder, that you kind of start to enjoy them a little bit, like where you're like, everyone's like, oh God, I hate to love you when we do that, but I know when I'm doing it, it feels so good. So I always try to end that with like, okay, think, like, stop right now. How do you feel? And keep that feeling throughout your whole day, because now it gets done. You did that. Like, no
Yep.
matter what happens, like, I got it in, and you'll never fit it in. That's the thing for me. Like, people will
No.
be like, oh, I had somebody tell me one time that they're like, well, I would be in shape like you too if I got paid for it. And we were sitting, a whole bunch of parents. And I,
Yeah.
the girl that was my friend, she put her hand on my thigh because she knew that I was like,
Really?
no, I didn't say that thing. I kind of just sat there, and so then I just said, well, I still do like have to do that, right? Like, I don't just like show up and like I'm just like parked in the back with like, my camp chair watching them all. You still do that. So in the classes that I teach, there are some classes that you do more coaching, right? Which would be more like a personal trainer style class.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But a lot of the formats, like tonight, is all music driven. It's done by the beat. So I'm doing that class with them.
Right
And
with them. Yes.
like there's nothing, honestly, like there is nothing like just like looking up and seeing everybody move at the same time together and knowing that like
Yes.
that has been a progression, and they feel it. Like they if they don't know that they'll feel it on week one, they get it by the time we're done.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I feel like I could move like that. And I'm like, yeah, everybody can move like that. How you move and how I move are different. So
Yes.
you want to be very athletic in your movement, if you want to be graceful. And so I was like the gritty and grace,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think that I like to combo both. Like sometimes I like it to be like a little bit more badass and a little
Yeah.
bit more, but then I like to be able to still be strong, but be a little bit softer and smoother in those movements, and that can still be strong. But it's the
Absolutely.
combination of those two together, to me, is like really a really powerful movement. We always giggle because so when I first went to my very first camp in the US, they thought I was so tall just by watching all of my stuff online. And of course I had to audition and do all of these things. And so then when I got there, they're like, well, oh wait, what? Like they thought I was like 5'8". I'm 5'2". Kind of good.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, we thought you were so tall. And so I was like, do I look so big online? But they just said it's because you use like the whole space, like
Yeah.
with your movements. And so now I'm very aware, like how long my arms look when I watch myself back. But I think like I'm still only 5'2". So they're like, no, it's not. We're take it as a compliment, right? That's what you want is
Absolutely. You want to be larger than life. I mean,
yeah,
ultimately, right? I mean, that is the whole thing, to be able to fill the frame, so to speak, or the room, or what, wherever you're working at and what you're doing.
yeah. So I always just find, what people like to do for movement, and then what it is that
Yes.
maybe somebody takes, like we have a spin studio in town. And
Yep.
so those girls are doing a lot of spin, then I would give them a complimentary class to that, right? So
Gotcha.
let me help you find something that's a better like that's a balance to what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Try to figure out what they're doing so that it's not overloading the body as well either.
Yes. Yeah.
That can also happen depending on what you're doing, and people
Yes.
tend to do what they love to do, but back off of the things that they need to do.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm no better, hence my physio appointment yesterday. Like, as we say, we're getting old, but also, you push through those things, and then you're like, okay,
Yes.
now it's time to like, okay, let's simmer down and address what's happening.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I know. I totally understand that. Totally understand that. Well, I'm excited. Like I say, I've followed you since we met, 2.5 years ago or whatever it was, almost coming up on 3 years. So I have followed you since, and I think it's been pretty damn awesome. You bet.
Thank you.
I remember, did you ever break ribs on the dock that day when Kim went to grab you and throw you in?
People who don't know the story, this is physio. So we were getting these pictures taken. My husband and I are sitting at the edge of the dock, and he's a big guy compared to me. And so I'm sitting beside him, and he was going to pretend to throw me in the water, like
Or in the
hanging
water. Yeah.
just the way he grabbed me when he come to put me down, my ribs caught the edge of his knee from the back. And I knew, like, as soon as it happened, it was like it literally took my breath away. And I was trying to
I remember.
and Warren's like just shooting away, like, just getting all the moments in. And so I kept on like, oh, and I like couldn't catch my breath. And so I was sure that I broke my ribs. Didn't sleep that night.
I wondered if you had.
So I ended up going, getting an x-ray. They thought that I had broken them, but I didn't break it. What I did was I had strained all of so you have these muscles in between your ribs called intercostal muscles, and they do, like, they're working all the time. So they're working right now, right? When you're breathing, when you're.
Oh, yes.
And so the only way to like get rid of a strained muscle is to rest it. But because you're always working them, they're not actually getting any rest. It literally, this is 2.5 years later, still, like yesterday, they still were frictioning in there because it is one of the slowest areas. And they just said, just the way that I like got the blow from the back of his knee, it just was enough to like, anyway, yes to the ribs, still injured from that.
Oh my God, that's crazy. I remember that thinking, oh yeah, you weren't very happy with Kim.
So I've told that story at training before, because of course I had to like push off a few things because the going back right away because of the pressure.
Can't do much with that. No.
I had to have a treatment yesterday because we've been masking, and so of course you're not breathing the same. And so then, when you're not using the diaphragm properly, I start to get a little bit of tension in that area that's been injured. And so, that's not a fitness related injury. It was a family picture related. Literally.
That I chronicled and documented. Yeah, that was crazy.
But it's a damn good picture. The one before it is a good picture.
But before, when you were still relaxed and you didn't have that aura of pain about you.
It's my favorite picture. So
that's awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate that. Well, that's cool. So you say you've got a project you just finished that's coming out this week.
Yeah, so it's the format that was just launched last month. That's called Soul Fusion. So it's a new format that's based out of the States. And so it was a lady who used to create one of the formats for the company that's now just focusing on home workouts. And so we kind of all got together, some of us that used to do a lot of work for that, and created a new format. And she asked me to create some choreography for the instructors for some bonus material. So I actually shot it in Get Jaqued because obviously I'm not flying to California.
Yeah.
So the last time I had an opportunity to be in instructor videos. I got to fly to California and I was in 3 of them actually. So that was pretty cool. And the heat in the studio was like 90 degrees, like something ridiculous. I'm like, you guys don't realize, like, it does not get that hot like in Canada in the summertime. So I was literally, like, it was like dripping off my ears. It was the craziest experience of my life, but very cool that I got to do that because now, that's no longer, but I always, get to that I was, in a fitness video. So yeah, I got to shoot it here, and it's going to go out to the instructors on Friday. Friday night they'll get it, and so there's instructors from like the UK, US, like all over the place. So they'll be teaching
exciting
in their classes. So it's kind of a cool thing for me that I get to kind of tap into that creative.
Yeah, exactly.
So I haven't really told anybody yet. So you're the first one.
Well,
I
thank you.
like to wait until like the moment that it like gets released so that it's like I always feel like I don't want to jinx it and say it's gonna happen and then
I'm the same. I get
yeah,
excited about things sometimes and I end up telling a couple people. And then I'm like, well, that was stupid. It's almost like you do jinx it sometimes, right? You're like, well, shit, that was going to be a sure thing. And now all
yeah,
of a sudden it's like, well, it's not going to happen.
so
Frustrating. Yeah. But it's my own fault for talking about it half the time.
it's exciting. So yeah, so
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is exciting for me. I love to be able to have people see what that's how my brain works. Actually, my kids always bug me because
Hmm.
I'm either listening to something that's going to make me smart or I'm listening to like serial killer podcasts. Like it's one or the other. There's like no in
Gotcha.
because if I
Yeah.
do music, which I love, but then my brain can't stop. Like then I'm like putting moves together or I'm thinking about things I could do in a class. Like it's just like yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm shutting things down. So if I need to like just focus, like, if I'm whatever, making supper, driving, doing whatever, then I will have to pick something that I can try to shut my brain down. Otherwise I have a hard time to it
Gotcha.
it's a creative brain is a busy brain. I will just
Oh,
say that. You're a creative guy too. So
very
if
much. I know exactly where you're coming from.
you hear inspiration or you see inspiration and you're like, oh, I could totally do that. Or,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's ironic you say inspiration again, because this whole project and including yourself and everybody that's helped me and been along the way has inspired me. And I said it before we were talking earlier, to me, inspiration, who we are today is a cumulative
100%.
of all of our inspirations in our lifetime,
Yeah.
right? I remember sayings that old, like college football coach would say. Yeah, I played for the U of S Huskies, and I remember BT, Brian Towers, and some of his comments, and quotes and some of his inspirational things to get us motivated, to get me motivated. I remember, track coaches, I remember hockey coaches, I remember teachers. My math teacher in grade 12, Lauren today, Mr. Today, he's still to this day, some of the things he said, all those things, all the inspirations over the years from people like yourself, and what you talked about and what we've talked about today and before, that all is built me, right?
Yeah. I
We're,
totally like 100% like all in with that. That's what I think too. That I always think that every single person you meet, you can learn something from if
absolutely.
you're open to that.
You have to be, and you have to be
If
open to that.
Yeah, and I
Mhm.
I also think too, like, when the kids were little, I was used to say, like, no matter how big the challenge is or whatever you're going through, yeah, it could feel like this, but there's always something in there. I don't believe maybe at one point in my time I used to believe like everything happens for a reason. I don't believe in that. What I believe in is that things happen and there is a lesson or a reason why, and it's up to you to figure out what it is. And I
Mhm.
don't mean it's all negative. I actually believe like even in all this rodeo that's happening right now, my one of
Yeah.
my members said, you're literally in the middle of a go rodeo and you're running, you're like, okay, let's do this. Like when
Hmm.
adjusting other things for classes. And so now we laugh. We're now like, yes, goat rodeo. I'm the keeper of the goat rodeo, but we're working. So, but I
Yeah.
do, even with all of this that's happening, there is something good,
Absolutely.
something good. And so if you're still sitting, in that place where like this happened to me and this is all bad and whatever, yeah, nobody's saying that this is good, but there's still a lot of good things that can happen. So,
Yeah.
thing that can come out of that. And I feel like I really tried to do that when the kids were little too. And so now it's like, okay, well, we're still doing that as adults. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not good, but there is good things in it. I could list 20 of them right now, like,
Absolutely. It's hard not to get caught up in
yeah,
this day and age like this, in the oh woe is me race to the finish, right? It's hard because we lost a lot. And I talk a bit about it, but I don't talk about it. What it's done is opened up the opportunities for me to do this.
Yeah. So,
You
and
know what
then,
I mean? So it's like when one door's closing, the other one's got to open, right? And I looked at things that I've wanted to do that have sat in the back of my mind for years, and it started out with playing guitar. I thought, you know what, screw it. If shit's going sideways, and I was always a musician, right? I thought, I want to sing more. I wanted to sing more for years. I haven't had the energy, the mental capacity to really put effort into it because of the stresses of everything. And all of a sudden, the stresses of as being a photographer kind of just got tossed to the side as far as the doing it. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to bring forward some of these things that I'm passionate about that I've kind of put on the back burner. And then it just spiraled in, and then you get more bad news about the business and more bad news about closures. Can't shoot this, can't shoot that. And all of a sudden I'm like, screw it, I'm digging deeper into that knapsack of, things that I've wanted to do. And here all of a sudden I've got this channel and the lifestyle, WW lifestyle, and the whole 9 yards podcasts. And it's just and it's a lot of hard work to get there, but that's the good that came out of it for me
yeah,
amidst a whole bunch of shit.
yeah. And
So,
I think sometimes people, when you say things like that to people, they're like, yeah, but I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying to like not acknowledge all of the shit. There's been a ton,
oh
trust me.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Limited to 17 people, then 8, now 7. Like what 7 people?
You bet. You bet.
There's like 80 some people that couldn't get into their spot last week. Like that's no pressure on me at all. Like
Yeah, insane.
but no one's trying to say like that all of this didn't happen. It's just that yes, it's happened, but do I want to stay in that feeling, or can
Hmm.
I acknowledge that the feeling is junk, but still try
Yes.
to find something in there that's good? So for me, like
Yes.
right now, it's like I see that people are committed to
Yes.
that feeling, and that's like such magic for me, because that's what I want, is for them to find the feeling of how good I feel when I do this for myself and when I move my body. Because I wrote a post, I don't know how long time ago, but that said, but until you figure out that movement is for the health and well-being of your body and your mind, you will keep starting over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
It's just short. If it's just about like a wedding or a grad, or you want to fit into something, that's just like short-term motivation. And I actually think, like motivation at the start is actually bullshit, to be honest, to put
Yeah.
it bluntly. I think it needs to be a commitment and a choice. It's just a
Yes.
choice. I'm going to do this every single damn day, no matter whether I feel it or not. And I think that the motivation comes as you continue to make the choice.
Yeah.
But I feel at the start, it has to be like, this is a decision, and that's the decision,
Yeah.
like I really think that's how I approach it. So for me, I see that connection starting where people are like, I need this feeling right now, whether that is the energy that I can give them, and then I take that energy back from them, and then it's just like, we always talk about good vibes in our place, because that's how it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it's like, and the other thing is, for me, this is like, kind of going backwards, but I always will never ever, like, ever take for granted the fact that when somebody chooses you to come into your space,
Hmm.
that they are spending an hour of your day, and that's an hour they could be doing anything else but
Yes.
doing what or spending that time with you. And how much of sometimes stress, anxiety, sometimes how like nervous they are about even just walking through the door. Like for me,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
always aware that not everybody just like bursts in there like, hey, like some of them do. I'm
Yeah.
always aware and try to be very attuned to the feeling that they might be thinking about that class all day, like, oh God, I signed up for this and now I got to go there. And am I going to be not the one that can keep up? Or am I not going to be able to do anything? Am I going to, like, I
Yeah.
always want to be very present in that moment, that when you walk through the door, I'm acknowledging you and I'm wanting you to just feel like all you got to do is walk through the door.
Yeah.
So I had somebody who is like one of my ladies who's been coming forever, and she comes, I think, almost every day. But she said to me, I have to tell you, I was so intimidated to come in that I like looked at your post for like, probably a year. And then the very first day I sat in my vehicle for half an hour before I like made myself go in. And she goes, and now like I can't imagine not coming. And I was like, oh, like, because to me that I realized that, so for her to just acknowledge what my
Yes.
thoughts
Yeah.
were about it, and so I said, why were you intimidated? Like, I hope I wasn't intimidating. And then she's like, well, no, but I only see this. And so I don't actually get to talk to you. I don't actually hear you say, like, you know, like, it's okay. Like, I'm going to meet you where you are today, is what I want. Wherever you are today, I'm meeting you there. And I'll
Absolutely.
help you get to a strong tomorrow, but where you are today is pretty damn good too.
What a
So
great way of
I,
looking at it. I've never thought of it that way. That's awesome. Brilliant.
because especially girls, I don't know if that's like just a girl thing, but I deal with mostly women.
Yeah.
They're always like, I want to be here, and I used to be this. I used to be this. I used to be this. Like, well, listen, I used to be this too when I was 20, but I'm 45 now, and 45 is pretty friggin' fantastic too. But I
Yeah.
always think, if you're always on what you used to be, you're missing out on where you are now. And that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you want for more. It doesn't mean that you don't want more, but
Yeah.
you have to still celebrate those little moments along the way, or you're never going to be happy because you're always just going to be in this spiral of
Yes.
things.
Yes.
So it's so interesting. It's just like I love spending a moment and listening to like how people's brains work and
Oh
what
yeah.
they think, and
Absolutely.
it's I'm very thankful every day for the opportunity for, to be able to share my, heart and passion for movement with people that also are open to that as well. And I don't know, grateful to like have cool experiences like this. This is the first time I've ever did anything like that. So thank you for inviting me. And
Well, you're very
I just,
welcome. And I've been putting together a list of people that I've wanted to do this with, and I mean, you were right there. I saw one of your Facebook. I think it was actually one of your Instagram stories or something, and I thought, well, holy shit. I mean, that right there in front of me is somebody that I would love to sit down and discuss, lifestyle and motivation and fitness and moving and the whole thing, because I do know and have followed what you have been doing, and he kicks ass. So yeah, you made total sense. Absolutely.
I always used to, I was in like, especially when I went into the educator point of view, I would say like, yeah, but, I'm in a small town and I'm basically competing with people who live in Chicago and California. And like, cause there was only 3 of us in all of Canada. And so the one, my lady who was like my boss, she said to me like, yeah, but, you know, you keep telling people that they're not like who you are is pretty epic, and then you sell yourself short. And so then I was like, don't try to tell me my own words and make me make sense out of that. Like, and so like last year, the top third master trainer of all 3 countries, coming from a
Very
town,
cool.
4,000 people,
You bet. You bet.
literally, but it's just that hard work, right? It's the hard work.
Absolutely. It's hard to Paul and I argue about this all the time. To me, this whole thing that I'm doing is a double-edged sword. Part of me, I mean, I would be an ambivert, which means that in one breath, and I think a lot of us are, I love the attention, plain and simple. I mean, it's like the entertaining. I've always been an entertainer. There's a rush and there's a certain, it's like a drug that just fills you, right? But yet there's times when I'm off stage, I do not want to see or hear from anybody. It's like I go literally from an extrovert to an introvert,
So
just like that.
I'm an introverted extrovert
Yeah,
because I need that connection, but then I'm also really good at knowing when I need to recharge.
exactly. And that's called an ambivert. If
Yeah.
you could even look it up, it's called an ambivert. It's like the hybrid of the two, and you need this you're the extrovert and you need this attention and the self promotion and all that for what we do. But then in the next breath, you're like, oh, I need to just hide for a little bit, and like you say, self preservation or whatever. You need to be able to take care of yourself internally. And Paul is always like, yeah, whatever. You always just love the attention, and I do to a point, but there's days I don't like it, and that's where I fight, and I have a hard time doing the self promotion thing. I really do. I mean, even putting together the site, I have a hard time sometimes. As a band, I never ever once wore my name on a hat. Like
Yeah.
all the guys would wear hats. I had, worn Noise the Combine Pilots, swag, everything. Not one time did I put any of that on me. But I know now I need to, doing what I'm doing, right? Although I got a Harley hat on now.
Returning to what I said at the start, where I said, yeah, it's my name on the wall, but it's the heart and soul of the people that are inside that actually make it what it is, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that
Yep.
for you, like, it's the people that you're going to come in contact with, it's the people that you're going to connect with, it's the people that you are now going to inspire with, with your journey.
Yes.
So before you had asked me to do this, like, I was scrolling one night and I'd seen, I think, your first picture that you had posted, just like maybe when you first got, like, just a couple weeks ago, when you posted your first fitness shoot. And I said to you, like,
Oh, my 1 years. Yeah.
holy.
1 year.
And I actually think my comment was like, a girl like that, just like, I mean, we're just different creatures than you, but it's a struggle. It's a
Oh,
struggle.
yeah.
Because if he put the commitment in for 1 year, he would be able to, change himself. And I would have to, like, I don't know what I'd have to do, like, a lot, because I already feel like I do a lot of good things already. But I like
I
to
was to the extreme though. I was extremely obese. The reality, and when my doctor told me that I was type 1, or I was literally pre-diabetic within a point or two. Like I was like right on the cusp of being diabetic, and I don't know, I walked out of her office, and like, you talked about motivation, maybe not at the beginning. It's more of just making that commitment and that dedication to being consistent. And I walked out of her office, and that's when I made the conscious decision that I was going to smarten the F up, get my shit together, get my health back to where I knew it could be. But I knew that it wasn't going to be easy. I knew that. I knew it was going to be a friggin' nightmare to go from being that fat and obese, and honestly didn't know where I was going to take it. I didn't know in a year that I was going to have abs. It's one of those that just didn't, kind of blew my mind. But once you make that commitment and to being consistent, and no matter what, I barely missed a session. I posted the one picture where I literally cut the end of my finger off and I taped it up with like gorilla tape and everything. And normally I wouldn't have gone because I hurt, my whole arm hurt past my shoulder. It was just throbbing. I'm like, oh, I can't go work out. But I'm like, here I am, the one preaching about sucking it up and just walking through that door. And I'm like, I gotta go. So I did. I went and trained. It was the best thing I ever did. I overcame, that pain and that obstacle. And when I came out of that gym after it, I was like, yeah. I went in, I busted my ass. This didn't affect me. I kind of put my mind past the pain, and I got a workout in. So I try to do that every day. Like today's leg day. And anytime you're going in, and I know I have to work hard on parts of my legs, and it's going to suck. It is going to seriously suck. And I will sit on that treadmill for 10 minutes, getting warmed up, the whole time thinking, I could work another body part. But the second you put off that leg day is when you all of a sudden start falling behind. You can't procrastinate on any of that stuff. Just get in there, start it. And then once you're done, like you said, when you're finished and you walk out, you carry that with you. It's like, I friggin' did this. Yeah, I'm hobbling around and I can't walk stairs, and I almost puked a few times in my session, but I did it. I friggin' did it. There's a sense of accomplishment of doing something that is incredibly hard. But when you accomplish it, it's the best feeling in the world,
For me, I always say, because like I said, I do mostly do have girls that are at the studio.
Yeah.
I always say we would never say to our kids, like, you shouldn't be proud if you did something that was super hard. You would never say that. You would never
Mm-hmm.
say, like, if they finished a big, huge project for school that they worked weeks on,
Yeah.
like, well, don't be proud now. We just would never do that. But
No.
yet, then when it comes to ourselves, and we do something that we worked hard for, or that we didn't want to do, but we did anyways, and we would.
Yeah.
Why is it such a stigma to be like, to say? And that doesn't mean that you need to like get on your Insta story and be like, I'm so proud of myself. It just means it's just here. It's just here. It's like,
Absolutely.
we're not like sharing the group, the like, oh, like I'm so like in the middle of class. We're not doing that. It's just a silent, like, take a moment, take a second, just
Yeah.
like, yes, be proud of yourself. And sometimes we do in a private group. I'll ask them to like, I like to shout out some, special moments, but that's privately between people that are all in the same space. So get it. But
Yes.
it's,
Yes.
hard. It's hard to get past that. Like, I should feel good about this. And it's not coming from a conceited point of view. It's
No,
coming from,
no, no. There's a
well,
difference in confidence and being conceited, being
yeah,
confident and conceited, right? It's a fine line too, because you can snap over top of that pretty quick and easy. And we see it lots in these industry, in the fitness industry. And it's like there are some insanely conceited people. And I'm just kind of like, oh, I try to watch some of those channels and I'm like, I can't even stomach watching this guy or girl, right? It's like, no, I want real people. I want people that have kicked ass, that are confident, know what they do. These are the people I love to watch and I love to learn from, those kind of people, but yet they're not arrogant. And that's important. I want to feel like I'm hanging out with them and we're friends and they're not judging me. I'm not judging them. And it's like, we're all pretty pumped what we're doing. We're pretty proud of what we're doing. We've kicked some ass. We know it. We don't got to go around and blah,
yeah,
blah, blah about it. And that's the kind of people I like to follow. So I try to, I guess, mirror that as well, and who I am and what I teach and what I try to do. And very much you're the same.
yeah.
I'm speaking for you, but that's what it is.
Like that. I really feel like I feel myself that I'm like magnetic against that energy of people that have the same ideals that I do, that their driving force is to, like I said, to create a positive change in somebody's life.
You
And
bet.
for them to really realize that they can do that for themselves.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that, and it's a two-way street. It is a two-way street. And it's interesting. So tonight we're going to go hybrid. And so some of them will be in the camera that will only go
Gotcha.
to a private, and so like last
Mhm.
week, I don't want to be in the shot. I'm like, get to the back. You're good. Like,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Because, it's all, we're all a team. We're all a team.
Yeah.
We got, and so anyway, they were laughing and that becomes like a joke in itself because, but I want them to just feel comfortable. I want them to feel like that no matter what it is that they can do or can't do, this is the place that they need to be. It's inclusive. And it is literally, like people say that, like cliche, fit family. You can create that any space. Like anybody can do that. And what I have will feel unique to me, and what you're going to be able to create as a trainer will feel unique to you. And those
Mhm.
people that are attracted to your energy and what you can give, they'll find you. They'll
Mhm.
find you. And you will go through, like sometimes people come and, like not everybody that's new stays, and that's okay. It's okay. You will find the people that, you find your fit with. So if
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not just about the fitness classes, I mean, it's not just about giving them a good workout. It's about all of the extra. I would say, like, I like to bring all the extra. So like, get ready.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I still love your saying and it's sticking with me. It's wherever you are when you walk in that door is where we're starting.
Yep.
You
Because
know,
that's where it has to be, because I don't want people to feel like they have to be like, somebody will be like, oh, well, I need to be more in shape first before I come. I'm like, no, like that's why you come. That's like saying like, oh, I need to be an Olympic athlete before I can like put on a pair of skates.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love that saying. I love
learn
that
how
about
to,
it.
before you can move, you got to learn how to fall before you can learn how to get up off the ice.
Yeah,
Like you have to just relate it back to like all of the things that.
you bet. You bet. Wherever you are when you walk in the door is where we start. And that's awesome.
So
Sweet.
thank
That's very
you.
cool. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you hanging out, Jackie. That means the world. And I hope you had fun. Just kind of.
All right. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to chat. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll stay in touch and we're looking forward to some grad photos again in the summer, next summer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and good luck. I'll be waiting to see you and your past exams that you're going on to your.
Yeah, excited for that. Definitely excited for that.
And
So
before you go, I just want to say what I said to you on the phone because I still believe it's true that one passion will feed into the other.
yes,
Like,
yes.
just because you're on to one thing doesn't mean that you're, not still
Oh,
interested in.
I love being a photographer. But
I
I
feel like
absolutely, I'm good at it, and I'm not trying to be conceited either, but I'm confident I can take some pretty cool photographs, in the scheme of things on the planet, and I love doing it. I'm just going to focus a little more on what I want to do with it, as opposed to just having to make a living. Yeah, I want it to be, from fitness photos to grad photos to still family photos to still some weddings, but I don't want to be a slave to it, where COVID has kind of created that with us, because every penny now of everything, it all becomes about paying rent and bills, and that is incredibly hard. I mean, obviously we want to make a living with what we do, but so that's why this whole thing, I'm just focusing on moving a bit, still going to shoot, love it. It's a big part of my life, but I think I'm going to lean a little more into the fitness end of it as well. Why not? That's what I love and I'm passionate about. So there'll be a lot more fitness photos you will see for sure. But well, I want to thank you, Jackie, and from Get Jaqued in Kindersley, Saskatchewan. I'll put your links up after. Again, hit the subscribe button, do the like, do all that kind of stuff. If you dig what you're hearing, what you're seeing, I appreciate it. I've got some really cool guests. I'm doing one more podcast even tomorrow morning. So there'll be 2 podcasts up this week. Really excited. I'm calling it the Have, Are, and Will podcasts. It's something that really means a lot to me. It's for people that have inspired, are inspiring, and will inspire, folks down the road. And I believe everybody has that in them. I just want to bring some of the people that have really inspired me over the years, to my friends, people that follow me. But on the Have, Are, and Will podcast, again, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Jackie.
Thank
Keep
you.
kicking ass.
Thank you. I'm going to do it tonight.
And I'm going to come down and take one of your classes one day.
I would love that. All right.
We'll see. You kick my ass, but it'll be fun. We'll try it.
All right. We have.
Awesome. Well, take care, Jackie. You bet. We'll talk to you soon. Okay. Bye-bye.